Good morning. Those of you who are here joining the Zoom call. Happy to have you guys clicking in. The truth is when it comes to teaching, I think that we as teachers are the first to forget that we're individuals and we're people, and we get so caught up in taking care of our students that we forget to take care of ourselves. That said, here we are in a classroom discipline hour where we need to do a quick reminder of how is it that we maintain control and discipline in our classroom, right? How is it that we go through this stuff and make sure that we can still live to see another day? Here's my concern and my worry. Do you ever think on a Sunday night that you're just not gonna make it? Right? I can't do it. I can't go tomorrow. So I just think every once in a while, we all need to reconvene, have a little chat. We're gonna call it our meeting, our webinar for today. And I couldn't be more excited that you're here. I'm Kim Bevel. I taught high school, I taught social studies, and I now teachers. And what I hear over and over and over and over is, Kim, I hate them. I know. And then I hear, and it's because of the pandemic. And it was after they all come back to school. And it was, and now I hate their parents as much as I hate them. And I go, I know. But the truth is we can keep going back in time to all the other times that we hated them. This is just a new chapter. We'll get used to it. We'll figure it out. And I have to call on one of my favorite quotes of all time. And that is everything that I've ever heard in any of the Marvel movies. I think it was the Avengers when they were under attack from around the world, aliens and enemies everywhere. And the quote was, oh, this is nothing we were trained for. Don't you just feel like this? It's nothing we were trained for. And every day it's a new challenge. And I'm not just talking about being in education. I'm not talking about being a teacher or a principal or a counselor. I'm talking about being right here on earth. Doesn't it just seem like every time you turn around, here you are, and you're like, now what? What new fresh hell has just exploded that I'm going to have to deal with? Yeah. Spoken, let me just quote my father. Yeah. I try to list all the travels and the travails and the consequences. And he just says, yeah. So I'm just going to start all of us again. Let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to what brought you here in the first place. I remember the day I decided that I was going to be a teacher. It was, yes, more than 30 years ago or more than 20 years ago. And I just remember being so excited. I couldn't sleep that night. I just sat up and was like, got it. I can solve the problems of the world. I'll be a teacher. I'll say things in a way that they find interesting and that they find funny and that they become engaged and they just have this incredible love of learning. Back before you had to handle this new project and this new direction, and back before it was, and you have to teach that, and you have to assess this, and you have to grade that, and you got to get your homework sent home. And did you grade the homework in a timely fashion? And did you upload all of your information online? And have you looked at the data? And are you going, stop? Those are the reasons that we are perceiving our world as being exhausting. We're never going to make it through any of our challenges if we don't get back to number one, and that's you. You are number one. You have to go back to the reasons why you decided to take this position or take this responsibility in the first place. And don't you dare be a jerk and begin saying things like, oh, I can't. I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. Not in my building. Nah, stop, pause. You're the boss of you. I think the bossiest people on earth are in education. Do you guys not think the bossiest people on earth are in education? Do you not just like find yourself wanting to like boss everyone around all the time? And don't you have this awful little secret belief that you're always right and that you know the answers? Is there this little thing in you that's like, gosh, if everyone would just do it the way I think we should do it? My principal doesn't know. Our counselors don't know. Parents are complete idiots. If all they did with their kids would, don't you have that little secret thing? Well, of course you do. First, you're human. Second, you're a teacher, you're in education. That makes us a part of the most bossy individuals on earth. Second, only to possibly an oldest child, especially an oldest sister, and a parent. So before we get into the ideas of how do we have better classroom discipline, I'm going to talk about 5 things today. The first, you already saw, it's your passion. Why are you here? Why do you want to do the job that you're doing? Because what's happening is you can't get to the job you're doing. And what you might be saying is something like, oh, it's because my kids act like this. They're acting like a bunch of creeps. It's because parents are just jerks. Probably. We all are, but we're going to manage it anyway. We're going to get right back to why we're doing this, why we did it in the first place. But in order to do it, you have to stay with me here. And that's what I mean by perspective. So I'm going to get to 5 things for you today. I've already given you a couple sources in the notes page. I want to make sure that you understand I'm not just going to be 1 hour with you guys, maybe, just the 5 ideas for you on things you may have forgotten about classroom discipline. I want to make sure you know that I'm here. If you want my individual time, I've put the link in the perspective. I'm selling a idea that nobody anywhere seems to remember, and the idea I'm selling is great teaching. The idea I'm selling is great teaching only comes out of you remembering your passion. And you have to remember, I'm doing this because it's this incredible, great love. Contrary to popular belief, it's not because of all the money we're going to be making. But I'm selling the idea of being a good teacher or a good person. And that comes from keeping a perspective of, yes, I can. I'm not going to fall into saying I can't. So I'm begging you today, just for a few minutes, I want you to dismiss the words that are coming into your mind. The words of, she obviously doesn't understand that in my school, we're doing this new direction this year. What she doesn't understand is my school, we're Cornell. My school, we are science of reading. I don't care what that perspective is. I began teaching in that kind of stuff, in the direction 2000 and changing the world, and everybody's legally required to do what this building says we are going to do. If you genuinely are listening and you're genuinely in the situation where people around you are saying, we have got to do this because the state's requiring, or we're going to all be in big, huge trouble and fired if we don't do this new perspective. Well, guess what? There's always a new school direction. If you've been in school for more than a year or 2, you've already seen 2 different directions. If you've been around for 10 years or 20 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. but you're not going to fall for it. Got to get back to why you do this, back to your purpose. And it starts with taking care of you, and you first means you have to have some resources. You have to have some ideas, but those ideas are only going to come out of you when you hit your own perspective reset. And your own perspective reset is, I can do things that I really care about. I'm not allowed to say the words, I can't do it because my school won't let me. And only when you get back to right here, only when you get back to, yes, I can you think about, all right, I can get back to what's going on in my classroom. I can get back to the idea that it's not personal. They're not looking at their phones like jerks because they hate me. They're looking at their phones because they can't help it. They're looking at their phones because they're in a society where our phones are designed to attack our attention and pull us into focus. So, idea, most important idea is your students have to understand. Your students have to understand that a phone in this world, a cell phone in this world, media on Earth is designed by engineers in California who make sure that we look at our phone on a regular basis. If you are one of them, you might be interested in the idea that, now I'm coming back, I stopped the PowerPoint for just a second. You might be interested in the idea that what I said is very real. And I've given you guys a link in your notes, in your messages, and you can follow. I think it's on the resource page. I've shared resources with you. Go to the bottom of the resource page and you are going to find Anderson Cooper on 60 Minutes. And he is going to be explaining to you, this is exactly what happens in our brain when you look at a cell phone. So before we talk about classroom discipline, what I would do is make sure that you're working with people, your students, your colleagues, make sure they understand exactly what happens when we are looking at a cell phone. Make sure they understand that software engineers have designed your phone to make sure that you look at it and then your brain becomes addicted to it. I would begin my session tomorrow. I'd begin my classroom with my students and start with that clip from 60 Minutes so that now they can see what happens in their brain. Right now across the nation, our districts are taking a look at how do we manage cell phones? They're taking a look at how do we legislate it? Are they allowed to look at their cell phone? Start with this link on 60 Minutes, which I have put into the chat for you. Start with this link on 60 Minutes so that they personally understand what it is that they are up against. When they understand what it is that we are doing or what it is that those cell phones are designed for, you might be in a situation where they will listen with you, where they will say, all right, I think I would like to put my phone down too. Because what districts are looking at right now is students aren't willing to put those phones down. So going back, why we want this, why we're passionate, get your perspective of, yes, we can. I can't get them to put their cell phones down. Maybe we can. Use the research that we have about what goes on in their brain when they're looking at that cell phone. Now we can talk about the classroom. Now we can talk about how do we manage our classroom as a whole? And keeping in mind, you've got big picture classroom, and then you've got your individuals. My guess, and then we'll get started. My guess is the individuals are the ones who cause you the most of your time. The individuals are the ones who are making you crazy. When that happens, and it's an individual, You pull them out individually, obviously. We talk one-on-one. Let's start though with classroom as a whole. One little piece of magic. Here it is. Little piece of magic that I hear back from teachers on a regular basis is after the pandemic, once we get back into the classroom, we just need to be trained on how to get them back into attention. We just need them to be trained on how to transition from one topic to the next, from one event to the next. And here's why I want to share this with you. What I get on a regular basis from principals is principals will come to me and go, Kim, we've got all of these new activities in our school. I know that you believe in movement and you believe in doing activities and games when we transition from one event to the next. And the most common thing I hear over and over and over is, but how are teachers going to get students back under control? How are we going to have them maintain their classroom? I'm like, they're so cute. It's what we do. It's what teachers do. It's what we've always done. We can't help ourselves. We're always trying to make sure that we're in charge of a situation. We even discipline. You ever discipline people in public? Can tell who those teachers are. I did it one time at a movie theater. It just came out of me. I was at a movie theater and it was when, somebody's using a little laser pointer and the teacher came out of me. I stood up, I turned. I don't know why I did it. It just comes out of us. I walked back. This is the back of the theater on the left. I walked back up to the theater, kind of marched back to them. Of course, they had stopped using the laser printer by then, pointer. I put my hand out. They go, no, we won't do it anymore. I'm sorry. There's a thing about being a teacher. We are in charge. We do have discipline. But I tell the principals who come to me and say, how are we ever going to do great activities? How are we ever going to be able to integrate what it is we're trying to do as a school and bring in something fun, some activity, some kind of movement? Teach them to do transitions. So I put together just a couple things in case you want more ideas. I know you guys know how to move from one activity to the next. The first is you're going to train them. You've got to tell them, we're going to do activities in here. And we're going to transition from one to the next. We're going to do fun things. I'll bring in an activity for you. That's what I do. I love activities. The more fun, the game, a play, because without it, you're never going to get your content. If you don't have movement in your classroom, you're never going to have discipline. So I brought some of these things for you in the event that you just want some refreshers, or maybe you want to share it with somebody else. You're going to first and foremost make sure they understand we're going to do fun stuff in here. And then we all come back together. Number 2, bring in music. Bring in music for them and say, every time you hear this music, go back to your chair, go back to your desk, wherever you have them. I prefer Stephen Halpern. It's research-based. This is the neuroscience behind when you listen to music, it lowers your stress level. When you listen to this type of music, it increases the learning state. If you're interested in this, go to my website. I've linked, copied, pasted your resource page. I'll tell you exactly what happens in your brain when you listen to music that has no predictive property. When it follows this non-predictive property, it allows the human brain to calm down. Your body, your autonomic nervous system calms down. Music by Dr. Stephen Halpern is researched. Again, you can go on the website and take a look at it. I've linked it for you so you can use it in your classroom. But when you train your students, when you hear this music, come back to your center. We're going to go to a different activity. Or maybe you just want to talk to them. Maybe you just need a couple of minutes of their focus and attention on you. This music is the type of music that can bring them back for you. Number 3, possibly one of the most powerful things we can do and good for us, number 1, you've got to maintain your mental health first, or doing any project in your school is never going to work anyway, or doing the fun lesson plans that you've put together are going to be difficult anyway. Train them to focus on their breathing. Okay, everyone, come back, stand behind your chair. Hold on to your chair, and I want you to focus on your breathing. Let's do it right now. Any of you who are here live and you're not getting this sent to you later, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to exhale. Then do your inhale, focusing only on your breathing. Then do your exhale. Count the exhale, 2, 3, 4. Then your inhale, 1, 2, 3. Now do your exhale on your own. Training them to come back to their chair. Pick your location. Close their eyes. Do their exhale. Is where you're literally hitting their neurological reset. The exhale naturally lowers their norepinephrine, naturally lowers their stress level. And what you're doing is train them to focus on the present. This is an introduction to a mindful activity. If you don't already do mindful activities in your classroom, this is such a quick, simple, wonderful reset for you, for your students. Another idea for bringing them back to a transition or going to a different activity, have them stand on one foot. It's really a simple, fast method to get their attention all of a sudden. No clicking of the light switch on and off. It's all right, everyone, go back to your chair, go back to your center, whatever makes the most sense in your classroom, and stand on your left foot. If you are listening to me on this webinar, you would make me so happy if you would right now stand up and stand up on your left foot. Do your exhale and close your eyes. Notice what happens to the movement in that left foot. It's working right now to find a stable surface, and it's waking up your brain. Take a breath, exhale your breath, and stand on your right foot. This is a crazy, powerful method to get their attention, hit their reset. It's also increasing the integration in your left and right hemisphere. It's increasing the blood flow in your frontal cortex. This is setting a learning state for you. It's another method for you. Switch to your left foot. Do your exhale. This is another method that you train your classroom. Here's how we're going to come back to present moment. Another idea for you is the pretzel. You're literally going to be doing something that Dr. Temple Grandin loved to do, like a self-squeeze. I'm calling it a pretzel, right? So what you're going to think of is that I want you to wrap one arm around the other side of your body, then wrap the other arm, right? There's your pretzel. Now cross your left foot over your right foot, or right over left, I don't care. Crossing your feet, you're crossing your arms, giving yourself a squeeze, and you're not going to believe it's like magic. Hit your exhale, train your students, hit your exhale. They're maintaining their balance, whether they know it or not, and it's crazy friendly to your brain. And here's why. Because your left hemisphere is working with your right hemisphere. And not only does that increase your serotonin, which calms your norepinephrine, you're going to feel your autonomic nervous system calm down. This comes from Brain Gym years ago. Works magnificently well with students who have special needs, people with autism. That's where the ideas here started. Your cross-lateral activity, a genius way to hit that reset. And then Dr. Paul Dennison said you add your affirmation. Affirmation meaning a positive thing that you want going through your brain, a positive thing they want going through their brain. I taught IB to my students. I'd have them wrap one arm, wrap the other arm, cross their feet, and close their eyes, exhale while thinking, I have no problems on testing days. I have no problem doing my best on a test. I can do really well. I'll remember what I need to. I don't care what the affirmation is. I like myself. I love school. I can make it through my day. And people like me. It doesn't matter what the affirmation is. You can decide what it is for them. They can decide what it is for them. But you see, we are what we think. We become what we think about all day long. I love that quote. What is it you want to think? What is it they want to think? These ideas for transitions are neurologically healthy. They are physiologically, they will hit that physiological reset. They will literally cost you not a single dime. They're fast. You can use any of them. You don't have to use them all at the same time. These are just 6 or 7 ideas that potentially work for you, for your students, whether it's in your classroom or at any other time of their day that they need a reset so that they can think. Every one of these are brain friendly. Number 6 is another cross-lateral activity to increase your serotonin, your feel-good neurotransmitters, which are also learning neurotransmitters, and lower your feel-bad neurotransmitters, your norepinephrine or your cortisol. It also hits a reset. So if you have in the middle of your day, the classroom's just gone wild. Have you ever had that before? You're like, what is going on in here? Why did everybody just like lose their minds? It was always like on a, I don't know, like a day that we had some kind of a school meeting, or maybe a snowflake fell. They get weird. Maybe I handed back a test or I announced something, or maybe there was no reason at all. It's just like, they're all like lunatics. Use one of these transitions. All right, everybody, it goes just like this. People have gone mad. They've gone crazy. Come back to your chair, go back to your center, up against a wall. However you're going to manage your environment that you have. It goes like this. Your right hand or left, doesn't matter. Cross, and you're going to squeeze your shoulder. Do it right now while you're sitting here in this webinar. We're increasing our blood flow, decreasing our stress level. Do your first cross. Say you are grabbing your shoulder. What we're going to do is, this is the 7, 7, and 3. You're going to cross, grab your own arm, give it a squeeze. We're going to go 7 times all the way down your arm. So here's 1, give it a squeeze. 2, give it a squeeze. 3, what you're also doing is trying to measure out so that you give 7 squeezes by the time you get to your hand. That's it. It's really difficult. It's really crazy hard. It requires no equipment. You can do it anywhere. And 7 on the right, give the squeeze, right? Then here's 2, then 3. All this is doing is increasing the neural integration in your right and your left hemisphere. By the time you do 7, right? 7 on one side, do 7 on the right side. Now 3 together is your hands. Put your hands together, one clasp, and then a second clasp, third clasp. lowering, calming, changing, because what we've just done is increase the neural integration. Here's why you care about that. This is your quick reminder. What that means is your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere, those neurons are integrating in a way that improve your ability to listen, improve your ability to process incoming information. What we listen to, what we hear has to be integrated to your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere. In particular, if I say to you, make sure you write down one idea for bringing your students back to focus or your teachers back to focus. Okay, write it down. What that means is your right hand is going to be writing down what I said, integrating the incoming words from your left hemisphere. Right hand, left hemisphere, that's an integration, and then writing it down on a piece of paper. That activity we just did, every one of these activities, these movement activities, are brain friendly and increase your ability to write, to read, to think, to process. If they lower your stress level. Lowering our stress level means that we can do everything better. Anytime you lower your stress, performance increases. Anytime you lower your stress, your health increases. For a teacher, first and foremost, lower your stress level by training, using mindful activities in your classroom, by using games, by using movement. Because if you don't, we're never going to be able to be in control in our classroom. Now, number 7 is a Navy SEAL training. I'm using that because I really do. I love how Navy SEALs are trained. Do you know that the way they train them is by focusing on their breathing? If you go to my website, I put this in the chat, click on my resource page, you'll get the full background and the training on Navy SEAL. But what I tell teachers is when you are working with your students, tell them about Navy SEAL training. And what I hear back is, you're right, they think it's really cool. So we're going to do our Navy SEAL training. The truth is when they go to train Navy SEALs, when the instructors are training Navy SEALs, they have them do something that I think of as the most positively hideous thing I could ever think of. They're going to have these SEALs train themselves so that they can go underwater, face a challenging task underwater while remaining calm. So you put on their gear. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to go underwater, they say to the Navy SEALs. And what you are going to do is you have to solve the problem with your air tank. So you're not going to be able to breathe and you have to stay calm while you're underwater. Okay, so first of all, that's when I had to tap out of Navy SEAL training. Say, forget it, I'll just become a teacher. Truth is more than 90% of SEALs panicked. They panicked and they came up for air. What are you? All of them? How come the SEALs can't do this? So the instructor said, all right, we're going to need some help. We got to go talk to some psychologists, cognitive psychologists come back and say, well, yeah, they're panicking. They're panicking because their systems of self-control are letting them down. So guess what they did? Here's the training. Here's the Navy SEAL training. He said the very first thing those SEALs have to do is they go underwater and they have to continue breathing so that they exhale thoroughly. So you have to exhale, just like I've been training you, exhale completely, because only when you exhale completely can you inhale. Turns out when you get nervous, we start breathing off the top 10% of our lungs. So right now, do a complete and total exhale. That next breath is going to be the most healthy breath. Oxygen detoxes. It also prevents panic. Do you have students who fight anxiety? Do you fight anxiety? Did you know that repetitive and being control, repetitive breathing and being in control of our breathing helps to calm more than half of our panic attacks? So for the SEALs, they said they were putting themselves into a panic situation. So first thing we do, we go underwater. You have to do your exhale. Second is they have to do self-talk, like the affirmation, right? You have to do the self-talk. And for the SEALs, if they used anywhere from 800 to 1,200 words, they could stay calm and not go into a panic state. The words were, I can do this. The words were, I can stay underwater. They're not really going to kill me. They just want me to be nervous. I can make it through this. I have to remember my training. I can make it through this. It's just not comfortable. There's no chance that I'm going to die right here. The words that they said were words that they made up, words that are going to help me when I'm under pressure. The third thing, they had to visualize themselves being in control. They had to visualize themselves solving the situation. When they visualized themselves, it brought them to present moment. If training can allow a SEAL to stay calm because they use the exhale, if training can cause a Navy SEAL to be able to make it through what feels like they're going to die because they can't breathe and they're underwater, because they use self-talk. And if a SEAL imagines and visualizes themselves staying calm under pressure, why wouldn't our students want us to train them? I can train you. You can stay calm under every situation, not just in classroom, but wherever you need to be the best version of yourself. Here's my favorite thing. The SEAL commander said this when they were interviewed. Said, what is it? Why? SEALs are the coolest. What is it that you guys think is your greatest weapon? That's what they're asking them. The SEAL commanders go, oh, there's no question. We know. It's your mental game. It's your brain. Can you stay calm under pressure? If we know the ways in which SEALs can stay calm under pressure, let's do it. Let's train our students. Because once you train them as a classroom, once they get the big picture, we're all in this together. We're in a class. I'm going to train you for life. We're going to have a curriculum. I'm not going to ever be able to get through this cool curriculum if you don't know how to control yourself, or if I'm always stopping to say, stop it, quit that. We're not doing it. We're going to do training. And what I get back from my teachers over and over and over is, my students love that SEAL training. By the way, make no mistake, I work with people who work with pre-K, and I work with people who work in college. What I'm promising you, what I'm offering you, are ideas to train anyone with a brain. And today I'm offering consulting. I've put the link in, so I'm selling this. I'm here if you guys want more one-on-one training. It's $100 today. If you sign up for consulting, it's a one-on-one consulting, just the two of us. We'll have phone calls. I'll give you 10 activities. I'm going to give you way more than 10. In addition to the ones that I've given you today, I'll send you the Navy SEAL training, but you also get, $50 off of a class. I would love to work with you one-on-one if you are looking for consulting. I've linked to all of those for you, but let's keep going. Because now, with the idea that we have sold our students or trained our students or our colleagues on the idea that training the brain is key for anything we're going to do in life. Training the brain so that we can manage things in a world where our cell phones are trained to disturb us and to distract us. We're in a spot here. This is nothing we were trained for. So by God, having training to figure out how the brain could do things in situations where we're set up for failure, that's key. That brings us to number 4. There's no one on this call who either isn't an educator or wasn't an educator. And every single one of us know that the key to having discipline and classroom discipline, every single one of us know that it's relationships. It's just that I hear over and over that people go, I have great relationships. I'm the favorite teacher. I'm everybody's most popular teacher. And it's not working anymore. Well, of course, it's a given we have to have relationships. Of course, we know that we have to have interaction with our students. But I'm telling you, if you don't have movement, you don't have control. If you don't have physical activity in your classroom, you're never going to have control. They have to be trained on what the appropriate behavior is or what our current behavior is in our setting. And it's got to be about movement. And it's got to be on a regular basis. If you're not moving your students, if you're not moving in your classroom, if you're not moving in your environment every 20 minutes, there's no way that relationships are going to matter. You've got to have your students moving, and especially males. And in the workplace, I understand that Google has started a cool new movement. Like, great idea. That in every single setting in every department in Google, that they make sure that they have movement and access to movement in every building. Place in Puerto Rico has timed breaks where every 20 minutes people get up and people move around. People get up and have that movement break. I'm going to give you ideas for this movement break. But I'm not dismissing relationships. Relationships are key. The fourth part of your routine for how we maintain classroom discipline, you have to have relationships. I happen to believe the greatest threat to relationships right now would be a cell phone. I don't care what age you are. Have you ever been at a dinner table where your own family members will break eye contact and look at a phone or use a phone? That's why the role of 60 Minutes, which I linked for you, you can follow and you can watch. You can show to your family tonight or whoever you live with. You can show to your classroom. If people don't understand that your phone is designed to pull your attention to it every 15 minutes, then you can't be a part of stopping it. Ooh, one of the things that you're going to really hate to learn about is that your phone is designed to make sure that you get some kind of a notification every 15 minutes. Here's the creepy part. Then I promise to go on with nice stuff about how we can use activities with relationships to improve your classroom discipline so that individual irritants go away, so that individual students who make you want to probably strangle them don't anymore. You've got to understand this. Did you know that every 15 minutes, the human brain that's used to using a phone has a little bleep of, look at the phone, look at the phone. Every time you get a text, every time you get a notification on your phone, it's a tiny little bite of dopamine. That's a reward, right? Your little reward of dopamine is addictive. So yes, you're addicted to your phone. I know you knew this. I just want you to have the resource that you can use to share with others about how we know that this phone is addictive. And that way we're all a part of being able to put it down. So ready? Every 15 minutes, your brain, your amygdala gives you a little, oh no, life is ending if you don't look at your phone now. Your amygdala responds. And it's a trigger to anxiety attacks. Does that make you mad? It does me. Like, you gotta be kidding me. So what if we deliberately use homework in the name of building relationships? I hope that your school, I hope that your university, I hope that you guys all are very deliberate with your homework, because what we know is traditional homework, sending it home, getting it back, that's not effective, and it does not correlate with long-term academic success or mental health or wellness. It actually does the opposite. I don't know if you have my book. My book is available, The Truth About What Homework Does to Our Mental Health and Wellness. If you don't, email me. I'll share a copy with you, or you can find a copy of What Homework Really Does the traditional way. So what if we do something like this? If you build a relationship, you know that classroom discipline changes forever. But the most powerful aspect of relationship as method to make sure your classroom is a whole different wonderful place is make sure you have a relationship with the parent. So if your student's parent or guardian feels connected to you, amazing things happen in your classroom. Guess what I hear all the time from teachers, especially first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year teachers. The hardest part of classroom discipline is dealing with parents. If you can figure out how to build your relationship with the parent, what research tells us is relationships with the parent means your student's academic success soars. It's an unconscious way that your brain, it's an unconscious way that your student, that their brain says, if this teacher is connected to my parent, they're okay and I can do well. It happens. It's across the board. It's K-12 research and it's beautiful. It also means you have a significantly lower chance of having a hateful parent mail. Don't you hate when a parent is mad at you? Here we are, grown adults, and someone's parent's mad at you, and you're like, no, I have a parent who's mad at me. How do we get around it? Deliberately. We deliberately make sure that homework is designed to build relationships, not the traditional stuff. And I can send you a quick 10 reasons why we need to revise homework if that's what you're interested in. If you guys already know this research, keep in mind this. Homework is your best communication and your best contact, not just to a parent, but to your student. Now, what if your homework is something like, ask them questions. But I want to know the kinds of things you love. What's your favorite kind of dog? What's something that makes you laugh? What's your favorite book? What's your favorite movie? What do you do with your friends? What's something you hate? What's a pet peeve of yours? People love talking about pet peeves. All you're looking for is how to get people talking. If your homework assignment now is deliberately in a way that families understand what cell phones do in their brain, and instead what is brain friendly, and they have interactive conversations at the dinner table, that's what you're after. Write up interview questions. Go interview your mom or your dad, or interview your guardian, interview a family member or a neighbor. What we're looking for is face-to-face interaction, and here's why. Face-to-face, yes, relationship. Face-to-face increases your dopamine, and it lowers your stress level. You want to know why cell phones are so damaging and devastating to the human being? It's because our eyeballs are looking at a phone. Our eyes can't look at a phone. I mean, we can. It's just that it also depletes our melatonin and interferes with sleep. Whether we know it or not, it interferes with our sleep because too much incoming artificial light depletes the melatonin. And that's stuff that you love, because what melatonin is potentially the most powerful anti-inflammatory known to man. Did you hear me say anti-inflammatory? Quick reminder. All illness is connected to inflammation. Mental illness, inflammation. Heart disease, inflammation. Shoulder pain, inflammation. We can't tolerate it. All rheumatoid arthritis, all obesity, inflammation. Type 2 diabetes, inflammation. You want to know? Your cell phone, looking at that phone, brings in a high amount of light and it wipes out our melatonin. Your melatonin helps to control inflammation. Why relationships? Because a lot of our research right now says because we're busy looking into a phone, we have fewer hours looking at a human face. A human face increases your dopamine. That's where our relationships come from. So figure it out. How do we build these relationships? What if your homework is go pick a movie and watch it with your family? Go pick a movie, watch it with people that you love. You want to know why movies are brain friendly? A pro-social movie is brain friendly. Watching a movie on something nice like Green Book. I loved Green Book. Made me laugh hard. Forrest Gump is a pro-social movie. Watching a pro-social movie increases your oxytocin and feelings of connection. It also, this is a really cool thing, synchronizes your brains of all people who are watching the movie. That's what the research shows on watching a pro-social movie, and we're not assigning that as homework because as soon as they do that at home, now they come back to class, we ask them their questions, maybe we use it to write, maybe we use it to make up a math problem, maybe it's open discussion. I don't care what it is. What we're doing is we're building relationships, all while having them do activities that are also brain friendly. Go find what's funny. Every different idea of something that is funny. I don't care how you go with it, but you see, when we laugh, we build a connection. Laughing also increases our feel-good neurotransmitters. Laughing increases not just our feel-good neurotransmitters, but it increases our ability to remember, to recall, to bond with other people, to act like nice people when we are with other people and we're not rude or obnoxious. And it's all natural. You go figure these things out. You figure out how to put it into your classroom, and that's where we have our relationships, right? Number 5, you already figured it out. I've been talking about it. If you don't have physical activity in your classroom, you don't have discipline. If you don't have physical activity in your classroom, you don't have the attention of the males. And you will be exhausted. And you will work 10 times harder every day than you have to. But you don't have to. What we know about physical activity is it's going to increase your blood flow. Blood flow is genius. Blood flow is the key to life. We have to have blood flow because that's where all your learning chemicals come from. Gives you oxygen, decreases boredom and jerkiness, increases your energy and connections to other people, and we naturally become nicer human beings. There are 3 types of movement. Again, this is what I do. I love games. I love activity. In January, the next class is going to be play, learning in motion. You can get them moving in lots of different ways. There are 3 types of movement. You can, 1, think of physical fitness, activity, exercise. Number 2, you can think about games, doing fun games. So exercise, fun games, and you can do specialized movements. That's the 3rd type. Those are your more complex. But it doesn't feel like it. You think that you're not being really complex because what you're doing is you're standing on 1 foot. Do it now. If you're listening to this webinar, stand up right now. Stand on that left foot. And then think about how to bring in more complex, more complicated ways. Maybe they stand on a pillow, especially for special needs students. Maybe they stand on I don't know, a brick or a piece of wood or something that you would have in your classroom. And no one's going to get hurt because you've trained them on how they're allowed to behave and how they are allowed to act. You have to be thinking about the idea that bringing as many different types of activity into your classroom is going to do nothing but improve your life and your world. Should you want more activities? I hope you're thinking, don't just give me 3, 5, or 7. Go to my resource page, go to my website, scroll down to movement ideas and charts. I will send you lots and lots of things. If you are looking for more time, you want to talk individually. This webinar wasn't set up for us to have an interactive conversation, which is my favorite thing in the world. So if you have questions, you can email me or you can stay here with me. But remember, your resources, they're on my website. And if you don't want my ideas and you don't want my activities, do this. Look around the world. Look at the kinds of movement and things that people do everywhere. Bring it into your classroom. Bring it in every 20 minutes. I one time in one of my classes, this is just what I do in my class. You get up every 20 minutes and you do an activity. And I was saying this, just like I am to you right now, that you need to bring in every 20 minutes if you want to have activity, you want to have discipline in your classroom. And it was a high school teacher. She raises her hand and says, "Are you telling me that I need to stop teaching my lesson every 20 minutes to do something like a game?" That's crazy when you ask it like that. And before I could say, yes, I actually am, another teacher, coincidentally, high school teacher, said, oh, no, 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 no. Don't do every 10 minutes. Don't do every 20 minutes. He said, do 10. Just like that. Don't do 20. He said, I get so much more accomplished if I do 10 minutes. He said, I have them up and do something really simple. He said, I don't even spend 3 minutes. He said, I get them up for 2 minutes to do something. And then I've got 10 minutes and they are with me. He said, there's no rude, there's no obnoxious. He said, everyone pays attention. They stay with me the whole entire time. If I have a different movement idea, if I do a different physical activity, every 10 minutes, he said, I never have any discipline issues, never. And people say, thanks, class was great. He said, it's like they think I'm this really great teacher and everything's interesting. It's true. It's how it works. I hope you guys will send me some questions, email me some of your questions. I can't wait to see how some of this stuff comes. I say, I hope I see you in another webinar on discipline, because once you try out some of these ideas, then we can get to the bottom of some questions and some answers. But I'm going to leave you with this. You are what matters. You have to take care of yourself. You have to keep your energy up. Don't you dare think the words I can't. And don't you dare lose your perception of the reason why you wanted to be here. There's always a new program. You figure out where to lace it in. First and foremost, you got to get your passion back for your classroom, your relationships with your students, and relationships with the people they live with. I don't care how old your students are. You won't be sorry. Good luck. Have a superb day. And I will stay here with you in the event that you guys want to ask me the post, we're not doing question and answer webinar conversations. Okay, those of you who have to get going and get to work and go to class, good luck. You got this. Take care of you. Thank you for coming.